Hey, Derrick, guess what?
Hit me with it.
We just got a promotion with Audible.
Audible, fantastic. I love Audible.
Do you know what the cool thing about this deal is?
What's that?
If our listeners go to audibletrial.com/supercinemapod, they get a free trial with Audible. And do you know what they get with that?
What do they get with that? Tell me.
They get one free audiobook of their choice, and they get 2 free Audible originals, which is special content that Audible makes available free for all its subscribers.
Are you kidding me? That deal is so good, I may go myself and sign them.
Do you think they let you keep the books after you're done?
No, you're not going to tell me they let you keep the books after you're done.
Yes. In fact, you can go sign up for a trial, and you can cancel before the trial ends, and you get to keep the books you've already downloaded.
Well, I don't see how you can beat that with a stick.
Exactly, yeah. And you can, lots of great books, especially for fans of this show. You can listen to Super Gods by Grant Morrison, which is all about like how the superhero comics have changed and evolved over time. Or you can check out Marvel Comics, The Untold Story.
Which is a terrific book. I have that both in hardcover, and I listen to that on Audible myself in my car while traveling back and forth.
And there's also another similar book that's called Slugfest, which is about like the wars between Marvel and DC Comics.
Oh, okay.
So that's another one you got to check out too. So yeah, head on over to audibletrial.com/supercinemapod and start your free trial right now. You get 1 free audiobook and 2 free Audible originals, and you can keep them even if you cancel before it's over.
I think that somehow your anger is triggering the nanomeds.
How could it? We designed them to respond to physical damage.
Emotional damage can manifest physically.
Like what?
Serious trauma. Repressed memories.
Your father grilled me about something that happened to me from early childhood that I'm supposed to remember.
He did?
It sounded bad, but I honestly don't remember.
The thing that worries me is a physical wound is finite, but with emotions, what's to say that it won't just go on and start a chain reaction?
You know what scares me the most? Is it when it happens. When it comes over me and I totally lose control. I like it.
Welcome to the Superhero Cinephiles podcast. I am half of your host, Barry Constantine.
And as always, I am the other half, Derrick Ferguson.
Derrick, what the hell? I feel like Hawkeye in Civil War right now, because you remember that scene? Well, remember that scene when he comes in, he says, "I retire for 5 minutes," and all goes to shit. Well, we take a week off, and next thing we know, there's a friggin' outbreak in the White House.
Yeah, I mean, the past week, the week started with, as I recall, because it seems like a lifetime ago, it started with the revelation that Trump hadn't paid any taxes.
Right. Yeah.
And then we went to that shit show of a debate.
Oh my God! You know what? That day when it came out, because I gotta watch it's on in the morning here for me, and I had to work all day. Right? I had classes in the morning, I had class in the afternoon. I had like a short break. I had like a 3-hour window, and then I had a class at night. And so I was asking people on Facebook. I'm like, so should I just watch the debate in this 3-hour window I've got before I got to go back to work, or should I wait till I can come home and I can actually drink? And everyone's like, wait until you can get home. You're going to need all the alcohol to watch this.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that was, and then we finished the week with Trump himself catching, the COVID and being rushed to the hospital.
Yeah, and then spreading it to everybody else like a plague rat.
Yeah, you know what? It is really amazing. This whole Trump presidency, Trump has survived shit that would have destroyed the career of any other normal politician.
Oh God, yeah.
Back in the beginning when he was talking about grabbing women by the hoo-ha, that would have been it for anybody else.
Or
anybody else would have been gone.
Or insulting John McCain, right?
Yeah.
Who was a sacred cow of the Republican Party up until that point.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what it is, he's like the Energizer Bunny. He just survives any other scandal that would utterly destroy the career of any other politician on the planet.
But I mean, that's been his brand like all his life. I don't know how he is the luckiest son of a bitch on earth.
Well, yeah, and again, as I've told people, because I told people when he was running for president, that people here in New York, we always knew Trump was crazy because he was crazy back then. Donald Trump has not changed since the 80s, mind you. This is the same exact guy that ran for president. So we knew what the rest of the country was just waking up to. They didn't know Donald Trump, but we knew him. And Rudy Giuliani. We knew he was crazy.
Yeah, I remember I was watching Netflix has this documentary series called Trump and American Dream or something like that. And it's like all about like his rise in like the 70s and the 80s and his bankruptcies and all that. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching it and like listening to the footage of him on TV. And I'm like, how did people not know he was crazy back then?
We knew.
Well, you guys knew. Yeah, I'm talking about the rest of the country.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, back then, first of all, there was no internet back then.
Mm-hmm.
There was no internet. And Trump was like a local New York, celebrity.
Right.
He wasn't like known like all across the country. Here in New York, because this was his base. This is where he was at. And he was primarily, Trump was always into the entertainment thing because he always hung out. If you look at videos, if you look at music videos from back in the 80s, you see Donald Trump appears in a whole lot of them.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that.
He shows up in a bunch of videos. And there was even rappers that included, bragged about him in their lyrics and their association with him and everything like that. But I mean, we knew Donald Trump was crazy back then.
Yeah.
But he stuck to entertainment.
Right. Yeah.
He never got into politics. I said, once he got into politics, I said, okay, now he's stepping out of his lane. But now apparently what they're saying is that he got into politics because there was so much money. But I heard this story. I don't know how true it is. And I promise folks we're going to get to the movie. Mm-hmm. So in a minute. I heard this story that because the ratings on The Apprentice, the Celebrity Apprentice were dropping, and Donald Trump had actually went to NBC and, he talked to the suits and he said, well, why don't we do this? Why don't I run for president next season? And we can do the show from the Oval Office,
right?
The West Wing.
Yeah.
And that was his, and apparently, the suits were, laughing and they said, yeah, that's a good one. And so Donald Trump was, he was serious.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like Michael Cohen said, right? He doesn't tell jokes. He doesn't have a sense of humor.
No, he doesn't. If you ever notice, you've never seen Donald Trump laugh.
No.
He has that. He has that goofy grin on his face, that smile, but you've never seen him actually laugh.
Mm-hmm. And I heard variations on that as well. Not necessarily that it was like he talked to the execs at NBC, but basically that he ran for president as a media stunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I've heard that as well. And it when you look at how he ran for president, it makes sense. And you look at how terrified he looked when he actually won. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's all. Well, there have been people that have said that, that they were in the room when him and Melania was arguing, and he was telling Melania, listen, there's no way in the world I'm going to win. Mm-hmm. There's no way because Melania wasn't down with this shit from the beginning. Yeah. She didn't want to be bothered with it. And Donald kept telling, no, don't worry about it. He said, who's going to elect me president?
Yeah.
Once again, never underestimate the American public.
God damn.
Oh my God.
But anyway, in some more pleasant news, there was an interesting casting announcement in the past week as well.
Yes.
Guess who's coming back to the Spider-Verse? Did you hear
Who?
about this? Jamie Foxx.
Oh, playing Electro.
Yeah, he's coming back
Okay.
and he's going to be playing Electro in the third Spider-Man movie, which is interesting choice because it opens up a lot of different possibilities. So I'm wondering, is this third movie going to be a Spider-Verse movie?
The popular theory is that between this Spider-Man movie and of course Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it's supposed to open up.
And also WandaVision as well.
Right, and WandaVision. It's supposed to open up a Marvel multiverse.
Yeah.
That's the popular theory that I've heard. And yeah, it seems to me that they're going in because unless they are trying to establish that this Spider-Man we have now is the same as he was in the Alan Garfield, he was in the Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Which I doubt that because they got a whole different it's just there are too many differences in those two for that to happen.
Oh, okay. It's been a while since I've seen it, so forgive my lapse of memory. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I didn't really remember. I do remember they had what's his name playing the Rhino?
Oh yeah, Paul Giamatti.
Well, Jim, yeah. Now him, I wouldn't mind seeing again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like a lot of people despise the Amazing Spider-Man 2, or then even both those movies. I actually like them. Like I don't like the Jim Carrey-esque portrayal they started off with Jamie Foxx, where he's like obsessed with Spider-Man, just like Jim Carrey's Ed Nigma was obsessed with Bruce Wayne. That part I could have done without. But other than that, like I liked the movie. I thought it was a pretty decent movie.
Yeah, I thought that, and I think that's why Tom Holland, I think that he took the best of Garfield and the best of Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
And he kind of put them together and put his own spin on it. Because Tobey Maguire was a good Peter Parker, but he wasn't, I didn't care for him as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Garfield, he was a good Spider-Man, but I didn't care for him as Peter Parker.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But this kid, Tom Holland, he seems to, have synthesized the best aspect of both of those actors and mixed them together and put his own unique spin on it to come up with something. Sometimes I think he comes across just as a little bit too manic. Like, I want to tell a kid, like slow down, but
yeah.
Hey, it is what it is. He'll grow into the role.
Yeah. But so I'm really curious because I know who was it? Someone at, I think it was, what was her name? Amy Pascal? Is she the one at Sony? Anyway, whoever the woman is in charge of Sony, I think it's Amy Pascal, but I might be wrong.
Yeah. I think this sounds familiar.
Yeah. So apparently, I mean, after the success of Into the Spider-Verse, she apparently said that she was interested in doing a live action version. And, and that would mean like getting back Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland to play other universe versions of Spider-Man, which, and with Jamie Foxx now being in it, that seems to suggest that we might be going down that road.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it seems to me like Marvel is definitely going to be exploring the, this whole multiverse, type of thing. And it should be interesting. I'm wondering if they're doing that as a way of like because I heard that they were exploring the possibility of maybe having Tom Cruise as an alternate world Tony Stark.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah. I heard that. It's still a rumor, folks, mind you.
Right,
it's a rumor, but and you know what? It's even more intriguing when you think of that one time that, Tom Cruise was seriously considered for the role.
Oh, yeah.
They were thinking of giving it, before they gave it, of course, to Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, Tom Cruise is like, okay, he's the guy.
Right. And there are there's enough Marvel stuff out there where you could bring back some of these guys, just like DC has done with Crisis and now with the Flash movie with Michael Keaton coming back. But there's also a lot of stuff we could do that with Marvel. Like you could have like Lou Ferrigno come back as the Hulk, or Eric Bana come back as Bruce Banner, or lots of different possibilities, and which is actually the lead-in, because that's the movie we're going to be talking about today. But before we jump into that, there's also something else, and I think this just makes me happy. All right, so I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Right, that show is hilarious, and one of my favorite things about that show is when Craig Robinson guest stars, because he plays this career criminal who thinks of Andy Samberg's character Jake, the cop, as his best friend, and he's always playing pranks on him and always like convincing him he's reformed, and the running joke is then he actually goes back and screws him over in the end. But yeah, he's hilarious, and the two of them have this awesome chemistry. Like it's just really fun to watch them together. And now they're going to be doing a superhero movie together.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It's going to be Andy Samberg, Craig Robinson, and Common. And they're going to be in a movie called Super High, where they play superheroes who get powers through smoking weed.
Oh, my God. You sure Method Man isn't it? Method Man didn't write this movie? Snoop Dogg?
I'm taking a look. Doesn't look like it has a director or anything attached to it, but you know what? It's got Sandberg in it, it's got Robinson, and it's got Common, so I'm on board for that. Like, if this is the kind of idea that it seems like it'll probably be a stupid movie, but those guys together will make it entertaining to watch.
Yeah, but it'll be a funny, stupid movie.
Yeah.
That's a show I actually have to get back into, because I watched it when it was on Fox, and I started watching it because the outside of that precinct that they always show.
Yeah.
That's right around the block from me.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's about like 2 or 3 blocks away from me. That precinct that they always show that's supposed to be, the 9-9. Yeah. It's right about like 2 or 3 blocks away from me. So that's what made me start watching the show. And then it went to another network.
Yeah. Then it went, I think that's when it went to, it went to Hulu after that or something like that. I can't
Someplace like that. But I know when it left, because it started out on Fox.
Oh, that's right. I think it went to NBC.
And it went to NBC, right? Okay, that's when I stopped watching. But I always say I got to get back to watch it because I thought it was a hilarious show.
Yeah.
And I'm really not an Andy Samberg fan, but he won me over with this one.
Yeah, I did not care about him at all until I started watching the show.
But I think also because since it's an ensemble show, I can, that helps a lot.
It's one of those rare comedy shows where you like the entire cast.
Yeah, exactly. I like everybody. It's not like, okay, well, I can't stand this guy. I can't stand it. Everybody on there is funny.
Yeah. And okay. So anything else you want to jaw jack on before we talk about the movie?
Nah, I think we jaw jacked enough.
All right. So this is your pick. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was your pick. Take a week off, and I'm forgetting everything. And that was
it was my pick. As a matter of fact, I am the only person that would probably pick this movie.
Well, no, see, that's the thing, because you and I are unique, and we're probably 2 of the 5 people who actually like this movie.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? I've gotten to the point where I no longer argue with people. Well, you know me, I don't argue with people anyway about movies, period, because life is too short. It's like, you like what you like. Right. I don't get into these life or death battles with people over movies and stuff like that if you don't like them. I will, and let me say this. When people tell me why they don't like this movie, you know what? I get it. I understand. It's not a perfect movie, and there are parts of it that make me cringe.
Yeah.
But overall, taken as a whole, this is an ambitious effort that to me is it's a very worthy movie.
That's the ambitious is definitely a good word for it. And sometimes it hits that mark, sometimes it lives up to that ambition. Other times, there are times when it kind of falls just short of it, and there are also times when it just falls flat on its face.
Yeah. But I'm the type of person that I appreciate a movie that swings for the fences, and even if it misses, it tried, and it tried with style and respect. I mean, this is when you get down to it. This is an art house superhero movie. So if you're not up for an art house superhero movie, then you're not going to like it. But as I believe I probably said in the course of us doing this, and we've done 30 something episodes, so I figure I have said it at some point. My thing is that the one thing I like about the Marvel movies is that they tailor the different. It's not like a formula. Well, you know what? It is a formula, but it's a formula that is adjusted for each different character.
Right.
And this whole movie, even though it's not like considered to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think that it could still fit in there, but also it's tailored for the character because Hulk doesn't necessarily have to be fighting supervillains like other, characters. It's not like he wakes up, he has superpowers, and he goes out and says he's going to fight crime. He's not that type of character, and this movie reflects that, I think.
Yeah, that's something. Also, something else about, and something you said in there was you were talking about how this could fit into the MCU. That was actually the original plan. When Zach Penn came on to write the script for The Incredible Hulk, he wrote it as a sequel to this movie, and you can see there are traces of that, right? Like it opens with Banner in South America.
Right, exactly.
He's already been the Hulk and everything, but then when Edward Norton came on, he rewrote the script to make it a complete reboot, and so that's why if you watch them back to back, you can see where they don't fit together, and those are mostly Edward Norton's changes. So Norton made the change where in this movie, Bruce and Betty are working on their own. They're working for Berkeley. But in the Incredible Hulk, they were working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and trying to develop the new super soldier serum.
Right.
And then also, he had chosen to experiment on himself. It was a conscious decision. It wasn't like in this movie where it was an accident. And the other thing too that I remember was when he first changes into the Hulk in front of Betty on the college campus, Ross says, now she'll understand, right? And that was kind of a hint as like, she hadn't seen him transform into the Hulk before. Only Ross had seen it. So they made those changes, but there's still a lot of that DNA in the from this movie in The Incredible Hulk, like like the South America scene, like him already being the Hulk and being chased by Ross, and also the Betty being a scientist. That was something they introduced in this movie.
There's a lot in this. Okay, there's a lot that if you close one eye to it, you can still squeak this in.
Yeah,
as part of the MCU. Like I said, if you want to close one eye and say, okay, I'm not going to look at that, and it could still squeak in there. Which I like to think is part of it because. Okay, the Hulk has been played by 3 actors, but it's unique in that there's nothing in their performances that contradict what the other guy does. I can see all of these 3 guys, they're 3 different actors, but I can easily see them, they're all the same guy.
Yeah.
It's not like Batman where, okay, Michael Keaton, okay, you got him. You got Val Kilmer, who is kind of doing Michael Keaton. You can see it. But George Clooney and Christian Bale, they're totally different guys.
Right. Yeah.
It's not the same thing with the Hulk. I could see, Mark Ruffalo and Edward Norton and Eric Bana. I look at them, they're all Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
At different stages in his life, depending on, where we find him at. Like when we catch him when he's with the Avengers and stuff like that, he's completely become comfortable being the Hulk.
Yeah.
But in the previous 2 movies, he's still learning how to deal with, being the Hulk.
Right.
Especially in the Edward Norton one, which I really like that we see that he's in the yoga and meditation and all that other kind of stuff. Yeah.
And this movie had a long development time because it came out in 2003, but they had started working on trying to bring the Hulk back to the big screen, like back in the as far back as the 1990. And I remember one time in, I think it was like the late 90s, Wizard magazine did an article about like upcoming movies. And one of them was a planned Hulk movie, which was supposed to star Johnny Depp as Bruce Banner.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, and which, Depp back then in that role, that would have been interesting.
Johnny Depp is an interesting actor in that when you talk about Johnny Depp, okay, folks, here comes the first digression of the episode. When you talk about Johnny Depp, you have to think of Johnny Depp as pre-Pirates of the Caribbean and post-Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Because you talk to people now who only know him from the Tim Burton movies and from the Pirates movies. And when you tell them that at one time, Johnny Depp was spoken of with the same reverence as the actor that we talk about Marlon Brando and James Dean and Al Pacino, and they look at you for what, that guy? And say, yeah, that guy, that guy.
At one point, I think he was in talks to play Doctor Strange, and thinking about, and when I think about him, like in what was that movie he did with Roman Polanski, The Ninth Gate.
Oh, that was a terrific. I love that movie.
Great, totally underrated movie.
Oh man, as a matter of fact, that's one of my movies that I watch. In this month of October, leading up to Halloween, there's a bunch of horror movies that I always watch, and The Ninth Gate is one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great underrated movie. If you've never seen that movie, do yourself a favor and go rent that this weekend. But and you look at him in that movie, and he looks just like Doctor Strange.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. You can easily see why. You look at him, you say, yeah, okay, he could be Doctor Strange.
Yeah, yeah. So that would have been, and it would have been interesting to see him playing Bruce Banner too, because even though he's, probably a bit too handsome to play Bruce Banner, I could definitely see him being able to really dig into that character, especially back then.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's back when he was Johnny Depp, and like I said, he was looked upon as being, America's, next big, actor. Like I said, people used to talk about him in the same breath that they talked about Marlon Brando and James Dean and Al Pacino, and
There was a time when when you asked me who my favorite actor was, without hesitation, I would have said Johnny Depp. Now I would not say that.
Yeah. But then, like I said, that was before Pirates of the Caribbean and before you took Tim Burton. Once he became like a totally different actor after that.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for playing Jack Sparrow in the first Pirates movie.
Yeah.
He was nominated for Best Actor.
So, but anyway, back to the Hulk. So, Jonathan Hensleigh was involved, and he was attached to direct for a long time. He was attached as a producer, and then they also brought in Joe Johnston from Captain America: The First Avenger. He was brought on to direct, but then he dropped out in '97 to direct October Sky instead, and Hulk was going to be Hensleigh's directorial debut, but that fell through. And people like J.J. Abrams at one point was brought on to rewrite the script back in the late '90s, and then eventually Hensleigh went out, and then Michael France came on board, and then that kind of fell through as well. And at one point, he says that there may have been discussions about turning it into a Jim Carrey or Adam Sandler movie. And then eventually that fell through, thankfully. And then Ang Lee was brought on because Ang Lee was, riding high after Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yep.
And so he was brought on to direct. And I remember people were getting angry on the message boards and stuff back then because, to a lot of fanboys, they think if you direct only one movie, then you can only direct that one type of movie. So so everyone's like, oh, why are they hiring Ang Lee? What there shouldn't be flying ninjas in a Hulk movie. And I'm like, first off, they weren't ninjas. And second off, he's a director. He can direct more than just, Chinese fantasy martial arts movies.
And actually, so I'm glad you touched on that because that actually is kind of like a relatively recent thing where when you have a director say like he directs like action movies and that's all he directs, that's kind of like really a recent thing. If you go back to the 30s and 40s and 50s, you had directors that in 1 year, he might direct a Western, a musical, a crime drama, and a screwball comedy.
Yeah.
Directors directed all different types of movies. They didn't say, okay, well, I'm just a Western director and that's all I'm going to do. No, they directed a whole bunch of different stuff, I mean, now we have directors that, well, he's a science fiction director. He's, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right. But I think that matter of fact, I was kind of excited because I had seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which I liked, even though I didn't go as crazy over it as most people did, but that was because I had been going to 42nd Street and seeing kung fu movies ever since I was 13, 14 years old. So to me, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was just like a kung fu movie with a really big budget.
Right. Yeah.
And I had seen like, what was that movie? The Ice Storm. So when I heard that Ang Lee was going to do the Hulk, I said, oh, wow, well, he's going to bring a whole new sensibility to the material. That's the way I looked at it. I got excited myself.
And I had only seen, at this point, I had only seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That was the only thing of his I had seen. But, I love that movie. So I was totally on board with this. But you're right. And this is also kind of only a Western phenomenon, I've noticed, because, in Japan, and I talked about this on Japan on Film, my other podcast, there are so many different directors who they do whatever's available, basically. So I mean, like, you take a guy like Takashi Miike, where in 1 year he makes like a really violent horror movie, and then he turns around and he makes a kid's fantasy movie.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I can understand if you like a genre and you specialize in it, but why would you want to limit yourself to just doing the same thing? Okay, well, I'm going to make another Western. Even Clint Eastwood, much as Clint Eastwood loved Westerns, he went off and he did other things. He did, what was it? Play Misty for Me, which was the Hitchcockian thriller. He did, what was that movie? The Beguiled.
Didn't he also direct Bridges of Madison County?
Yeah, Bridges of Madison County. Yeah, he went off and did. You know why? Because, and me and you in conversation with that, I'm a big believer in stretching your creative muscles in other directions just to keep them, loose and limber. And because to me, creativity is just as much a muscle as any other muscle in your body. Yeah. It's just the one that's in your head and in your soul. And in order to keep it strong, you have to go another direction. You have to do other things with it.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
No, you're absolutely right. And Lee went on to do some other stuff that I like. He did after this, he did Brokeback Mountain, and then he went on. Yeah. He did this really good Chinese spy movie called Lust Caution. I'm not sure if you ever seen it.
No, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it though.
Okay, so it's really good, and there are two versions of it, right? There's an R-rated version and there's an NC-17 version because there's some pretty explicit sex scenes in that movie.
All right. You write this down. Real quick. What's the name of that again?
Lust Caution.
Okay.
But beyond that, it's a really awesome spy movie, and because it's set in Hong Kong in 1938, in Shanghai in 1942 when it was under Japanese occupation.
Okay.
And it's about a group of Chinese students who plot to assassinate a special agent working for the puppet government, and it's really good. It's definitely you got to watch it. You will especially get a kick out of it, I think, and not just because of the sex scenes.
What more do I need? But Ang Lee has done. He did a Western. What was that Western he did with Tobey Maguire? Ride with the Devil.
Oh yeah.
That was a good movie. He did what? The Life of Pi.
Life of Pi. Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is that all the movies that he's done have all been different. They've all been different movies.
Right.
To me, he's like one of those old school directors that hey, I could direct anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't have to direct just this one type of movie. I could direct anything. Which to me, if you're a director, that's what. if I put a script down in front of you, you're supposed to be able to take it and say, okay, I can do this, instead of just saying, well, no, what, I don't do this. I just do horror movies. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. I admire anybody that finds what they're good at and they want to stick with it. But I'm just saying that when you bring your sensibilities, okay, you can take like a horror director like John Carpenter. What did he took that sensibility and he made a completely different movie that people didn't expect from him, Starman.
Yeah,
which was a very sweet, wonderful movie.
Well, look at look at the MCU. I mean, you got the Russo brothers, right?
Yeah,
these guys were known for writing and directing comedy TV shows. Like they worked on Arrested Development, they worked on Community, and then they turn around and they give us a superhero political thriller with The Winter Soldier.
Who in the world would have guessed that they had that type of movie in them?
And then, not only that, but then they went on and gave us like the most epic superhero movie ever made.
Please.
I mean, Joss Whedon, everybody expected Avengers to be good because we had seen him do sci-fi and comic book style stuff for years with Buffy, with Angel, with Firefly, but nobody when we saw Avengers, it had everything we came to expect from Joss Whedon.
Right, it was no surprise.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Russos, that was a surprise because nobody saw that coming.
Nobody. And it's the same way with Hulk.
Right.
This was a movie that nobody saw coming because this movie was not Hulk smash, which is what I guess a lot of people went to it expecting to see, Hulk smash.
Exactly.
And it's not about that at all. The movie actually, what the movie actually is about is that you got Bruce Banner, played by Eric Banner, and you have Betty Ross, played by the magnificent Jennifer Connelly. I watched this movie last week when we were supposed to do it last week, and then I watched it again last night, and I was struck by, okay, she's gorgeous, that's a given. But you know what? Jennifer Connelly can also act.
Oh, she can act her ass off.
She knows how to sell the reality of what she's doing.
Yeah.
Which to me is, what an actor is supposed to do. They're supposed to sell you on whatever it is you're watching them do at that moment. And she does that perfectly.
She is definitely one of my favorite actresses.
Oh, yeah. She's going to be like in 50, well, not in 50 years. In like another 20 years, she's going to be Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah.
But the movie is actually about them and how they've been emotionally screwed over by their fathers.
Yeah.
And how and that's what the movie really is about. It's about, in the case of Bruce Banner, he's been experimented on by his own father. And when he turns into the Hulk, it's the living embodiment of his repressed rage.
Right. Yeah.
At what's been done to him. And in Betty's case, what her father's done to her is make her dependent upon men who she cannot reach emotionally.
Right. Because he was like that. And so she's often drawn to these guys because she's, in a way, trying to fix her father.
Bingo, exactly. And that is actually what the movie is about.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you've come to the Hulk looking for Hulk smash and you get this psychological drama, of course you're saying, well, what the hell is this shit? but if you're willing to open yourself up and say, okay, a superhero movie can be other things besides Hulk smash or, just a guy putting on a costume and beating up people. And that's where I say that the ambition comes into Hulk, because Ang Lee did the ambitious thing and tried to give us something else.
This was, you're right. This movie, it was, because we talk now about one of the successes of Marvel is that they found a way to use superheroes just kind of as window dressing for these other types of genre films. The Hulk was kind of like the first one to really do that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this is a psychological drama.
Yes.
More than anything else. It's a psychological drama. Yes, of course, we have one of my favorite scenes of all time, because when you talk about the Hulk and people talk about, the Abomination is his arch enemy or the leader, I always say, well, no, it's the United States Army. And that's what we get here. We do get an extended sequence in the desert
Yeah.
where the Hulk is fighting the United States Army, just like in the comic books.
You know, one of the things I liked about that whole thing too, because I remember when this came out, people were getting annoyed because the Hulk gets bigger, right? And his size. But that was something that came from the comics, right? The angrier he gets, the bigger he gets, the stronger he gets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that made a lot of sense.
That's not something that they made up for the movie, because people tell, oh, he does. He gets madder, he gets bigger.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. You know, you gotta that's why the kid said, listen, don't make him mad.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing about the Hulk that's in this movie is that he's too green.
Yeah, that's one of the things that does not hold up over time is the CGI. The seams become very obvious in this because it when he's in the beginning, when they show the Hulk in the darkness, it's fine, it works out perfectly. But when they bring him out in the sunlight, you're right, like the green was way too bright, and it's just the CGI does stand out a lot.
That's why I think in the Incredible Hulk, they have him sometimes. He's more gray than green, and I think that works out a lot better.
Or like the kind of like this brownish green type of color. It's like this muddy,
that works much better. Here he looks like Shrek sometimes. You know, it's just like it's a too bright green. Yeah.
The other thing that they did in that movie, and I know we're supposed to be talking about the Ang Lee movie, but just bear with us. But one of the things I think also helped was the muscle definition they gave on him in The Incredible Hulk. Like they really, worked really hard on defining the muscles, and it made it look a little bit more realistic because of that, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, overall, the look of the Hulk in The Incredible Hulk was better than in this movie, but I'm willing to give it leeway because, back then CGI was still a thing that they were tinkering with.
Right. Yeah.
They wasn't sure, well, how is this going to catch on? Is this really something that, how can I put? They were still fiddling with the technology.
Yeah.
So, I'm willing to give them some leeway, especially because, how can I put this? Again, they tried. They were ambitious. We get those nighttime scenes, and as I always tell people, a lot of times in those early movies when they would, when they had the CGI, they did it at night to hide the floors, So, when it's very jarring to see him at night, and then you go to daytime and you say, wait a minute, wow, because he does look like a cartoon character almost. It's the realistic background. So,
and also something else about the CGI in this that I think is definitely worth mentioning is the fact that Ang Lee did the motion capture for the Hulk.
Yes
And I think that's pretty damn cool. I think it's really cool that he was willing to just say, you know what? I know what I want this character to do, so just give me the motion capture. I'm going to do it myself.
Now, see, again, that's a director with commitment.
Yeah.
Instead of, he's going to, torture this poor actor. No. I want you to do this. I want you to move like this. No, he climbed into the suit himself.
Yeah. He's not putting anybody through the Stanley Kubrick treatment.
Yeah, exactly. He climbed to the suit himself, and he did, because like you said, he knew exactly what he wanted. And this way he doesn't, okay, well, if you know what you want, let's cut out the middleman. I'll climb into the suit, because it's not like he's got to do any dialogue and stuff like that.
Right.
And he knows. And there is the sense that you get, especially in scenes like, okay, the scene where the Hulk first appears and Nick Nolte, he shows up. And he's caressing his face and everything like that. There's a lot of pathos that's in that scene.
Yeah.
There's a lot of genuine feeling in that. Well, there's a lot of genuine feeling in the whole movie,
Yeah.
But in that scene especially, when he first meets her and then he's on the floor and he's crying, and he realizes what he's done to his son and everything like that, which doesn't last too long because the Nick Nolte character is totally batshit insane.
Yeah. But And also, talking about the cast in this movie too. Jennifer Connelly, obviously, I mean, she's been some of my favorite movies. Like she was in Dark City, which The Rocketeer, Requiem for a Dream, which I have trouble even watching anymore.
I watched that movie against the advice of a friend of mine who said, "Don't watch that at night." And I said, man, it's just a movie. I'm gonna watch it. I watched that movie about 1 o'clock in the morning. I have no shame in admitting I couldn't sleep right that night or the next night. Nah, I've seen that movie exactly one time. And while I appreciate it for its technical, direction and the acting and everything like that, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm like you. That's one of those movies I have no desire to ever watch again.
You know what? Do you remember they had I'm not sure because you didn't have kids or anything like that, but did you know about the DARE program they had in the 80s and the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was this program that they did to try and, keep kids off of drugs and everything, which actually they found out it had the opposite effect.
Yeah.
Kids...
Exactly. Exactly.
It actually made more kids use drugs because you're telling
them. Show them that movie.
I was gonna say, show them Requiem for a Dream, man. That'll stop anybody from doing drugs.
If that don't stop you from using drugs, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
But she made 2 movies that I think that anybody who calls themselves either a fan of Jennifer Connelly or a fan of the genre should. I mean, Dark City and The Rocketeer.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen them 2 movies, listen, we can't talk. I'm sorry. Dark City is a masterpiece, flat out. And The Rocketeer is that's on its own level of excellence.
Yeah. And that was that movie was that was basically Captain America before we got a Captain America movie.
Yes, it was.
Same director too, Joe Johnston.
Same director, Joe Johnston, who to me is, why this guy isn't making more movies.
You know what? They got to get this guy to direct an Indiana Jones reboot with the guy from Solo.
Yeah.
That's what they got to do.
I have been saying this for I don't know how long. Listen, Harrison Ford, I'm tired of this nonsense about, only Harrison Ford could play Indiana Jones. Please, let's retire him already, get the guy from Solo, and let him play Indiana Jones and put him in a whole bunch of new movies. And let's get on with it already.
Yeah. Also, we've got something else about Jennifer Connelly, too. She's also made an MCU debut because she was the voice of Karen, the suit lady in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh, okay.
Which it's kind of funny because you know who her husband is, right?
Who's the husband?
Paul Bettany, who did the voice of Jarvis and then went on to do Vision.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know they was married. That's good. That's a good match. I like the 2 of them.
And then, but Eric Bana as Bruce Banner, I mean, I don't have anything against Bana. I liked him a lot when this movie came out, but then when Incredible Hulk came out, I thought, okay, Edward Norton's, I like Edward Norton better. And then when Avengers came out, I'm like, okay, Mark Ruffalo is now my guy. So each time it keeps getting one up. So that's one thing that I think is Marvel's done a really good job of casting Bruce Banners. I will give them that.
Yes, they have. I mean, like I said, I can see each one of these guys is Bruce Banner at different stages.
Right.
Of being the Hulk and being Bruce Banner. Like Eric Bana, he's just learning about this and he's just starting out and he's coming to grips with, his father and everything like that. Okay, now we move a year or whatever later, and now he's Edward Norton. He's got more of a handle on, being the Hulk, and he's learned how to control him more. And he's a little bit more savvy at staying out of hands of, Thunderbolt Ross and everything like that.
Right.
And then, of course, we get Mark Ruffalo, who by the time we get to him, he is totally at home being the Hulk because he understands it. He's got that great line in Avengers because Captain America said, well, what's the trick? He said, there is no trick. I'm just always angry.
Yeah. Which, to what I still maintain that line doesn't make a lick of sense, but it's still an awesome moment.
No, it doesn't. That line doesn't make any sense at all. But the way he delivers it is cool as hell. And you just go with it. You just go. Sometimes it's not about the sense of it. It's the emotion.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Because that line got, I mean, the showing that I went to, everybody cheered.
Oh,
they
yeah.
just said, "Oh shit, yeah, he's always bad. Yeah, good for you."
But yeah, every time I watch that movie, I'm just like, I was the same way. I love that line when that happened. Then I watch it when I watch that movie again. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't track at all.
But I like the Mark Ruffalo because by this time that he's gotten to be Bruce Banner, in a lot of ways, he treats the Hulk like a hand grenade he's got in his back pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like he's fighting it any, okay, like when they have the house surrounded and everything like that, and he's like totally at ease.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because he knows he can just pull the Hulk out anytime he wants, and that's it. Which I kind of like that characterization of Bruce Banner. That because to me, and I wrote a fan fiction series,
which was amazing, by the way.
Thank you. And I always looked at the Hulk as being like his addiction. He's addicted, whether he wants to admit it or not. He's also addicted to being the Hulk.
Yeah, yeah.
He kind of likes being able to let go because then he can blame. Well, that wasn't me. That was the Hulk.
there was a comic book run Jason Aaron did several years back. I think I may have mentioned it on here before, but and in this series, it opens up with Banner and Hulk being separated, right? And Banner's almost become like obsessed with reuniting with the Hulk, right? And so it really leaned on that idea of him, of the Hulk being like his addiction. And it does, and there's also a little hint of that here because, right, there's that one thing when there's a great scene when Bruce is explaining to Betty what it's like before he transforms, and he says like, there's a moment right before it happens, and I like it.
Yeah. I mean, because let's face it, who wouldn't like having all of that raw power?
Right. Well, the thing is, like, and I think what Banner does really good here is portraying how repressed Bruce Banner is. So when he does transform, it's just like total catharsis for him.
Yeah. And again, this goes back to connecting the Banner version of Bruce Banner to the Mark Ruffalo, because Eric Banner, like you said, he's very repressed.
Yeah.
Emotionally. But Mark Ruffalo, he's very open with his emotions and he's very free. He allows himself to be frightened, to, get mad or yell at other people and everything like that, which also helps him deal with the Hulk when he's more open with his own emotions.
Yes, yeah. But sorry, go ahead.
No. I was saying that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I can't imagine, I can't really picture Mark Ruffalo playing this Bruce Banner, but I also can't imagine like Eric Bana playing like the smart Hulk in Avengers Endgame, right? I could never see that happening. You need that, Ruffalo projects that, that comfort with being one with the Hulk, which I don't think Bana or Norton either could have really captured in the same way.
No. But like I said, it's very interesting. And see, now I wish now that we're talking about it like this, I really wish I'd watch all three movies back to back so that I could have compared their performances, because it's a progression.
Yeah.
From Eric Bana to Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo. It is a progression.
I think it was our buddy Mark Busket who said that if you look at the three Punisher actors, so in the movies, not obviously the TV show, but you look at Dolph Lundgren, you look at Tom Jane, and then Ray Stevenson, and they actually could play the same character. It's just the movies are out of order, right? Where it's like you could imagine like Tom Jane being him at the beginning, and then Ray Stevenson being like him in like the middle part of his life, and then Dolph Lundgren at like the end of the journey when he's like broken down and he's just like burnt out.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Oh, you never heard him say that before?
No, I did. I probably forgot, but it sounds like something Mark would say.
Yeah.
Because he's that cat is deep.
Yeah.
He's deep. He's into that. Yeah, but that's, and you know what? I've always maintained, that's one thing I've always maintained, that the Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren is nowhere near as bad as people make it out to be.
I've got to rewatch it at one point because I don't think I've only watched it once, and that was like 20 years ago. And I hated it back then. So, but after hearing like you and Mark talk about it, I know I got to give it a second try eventually.
Yeah, you know what? It's not that bad. It really isn't. I mean, you know what? It's bad in the context is that, you know, it's not him wearing like the skull shirt and everything like that. But now that you're telling me about how watching it in the reverse, because the Dolph Lundgren one actually came first. But now that you're telling me, yeah, I can see it working as the Punisher. We catch him years down the road when he's like busted and, you know, he's down to his last few bullets and stuff like that. Yeah, that's very interesting notion. I got to do that.
And then
watch all the movies.
But I think obviously the best performance in this, and probably one of those examples when you could not create a more perfect actor for this character, Sam Elliott.
Oh my God. Yeah. Sam Elliott is like, well, Sam Elliott is God as far as I'm concerned. You know, but I mean, he's supposed to be the bad. Well, no, he's not the bad guy in the movie. Josh Lucas as Glenn Talbot. He's the actual bad guy. What I like about the Thunderbolt Ross in this movie, in that we understand him.
Yes.
You know, I get why he does what which is, like I always say, I've said it a dozen times, I'm going to say a dozen times more. I really don't care about if I like a character, if I don't like a character, but I want to understand why they do what they do. Yeah. And I understand why Thunderbolt Ross does what he does in this movie.
And he's great in this role. Like I think he's actually more well drawn than you even see the character in the comics.
Yeah, he is, because the Thunderbolt Ross in the comics is pretty much just kill Hulk, kill Hulk, kill Hulk, kill Hulk. I don't like Hulk. I think Bruce Banner's a wimp. You know, I got repressed sexual feelings for my daughter. Serious, you know, he's a pretty one-note character. But in this one, he's a human being.
Right. He even understands Bruce to some extent as well. That's one of the things I like about it. Like when he's you can tell that he's really torn between his concerns about what this guy is and who his father is, but also there's that one scene when he's talking to him and he finds out that Bruce has repressed all the memories, and he says and he's like, "I'm sorry, kid, you're a whole lot more messed up than I thought."
Yeah, and then later on, he even says to Betty, he says, and he admits it. He said, "You want to know the really messed up thing about all this?" He said, "I just threw that kid away." Yeah. And didn't even, without a second thought. He was just collateral damage. I didn't even, and something, that was a big moment for him with his daughter. Yes. It seems like a throwaway, but actually seeing their relationship that they've been having, that was a very big admission for him to make, because he was saying, without coming out and saying that, I was wrong. Yeah. I was 100% wrong.
And then we get, and then you mentioned, Josh Lucas as Glenn Talbot, who, he was okay in this movie, but it's hard for me to watch it now because Adrian Pastar played Glenn Talbot in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and played a much more well-rounded version of the character.
Yeah. The guy here, Josh Lucas, all he needed was a twirly mustache. Yeah. That's all he...
Which is funny because Glenn Talbot, he does play Talbot very much like he was in the comics, right? Talbot was like this arrogant jackass type thing. Yeah. The only thing Glenn Talbot had the mustache. The only thing Josh Lucas is literally missing is the mustache.
That's all he needed was a mustache to twirl. I would like to mention before we go further, because I don't want to forget him. The actor who plays the young Thunderbolt Ross is named Todd Tensett, and he does a great job. He plays a young Sam Elliott. For a minute, I thought he was Liev Schreiber for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was. I said, wait a minute, is that Lee? Because it's been a while since I seen the movie. I saw, oh shit, I forgot Lee Schreiber was in this movie. And then I read the credits later on. Todd Tenson. But when you look at him, he damn if he doesn't look and sound exactly like, you know, a 20-year-old, you know, Sam Elliott. And as I have said before, I've said this before, I always appreciate it when in a movie they have an actor playing the younger version of a character, that they get somebody that looks and sounds.
Yes.
Like, you know, and they did in this one.
They also did the same thing with Paul Kersey, who plays the young David Banner, right? He looks like a young Nick Nolte.
Yeah, exactly. He should. I looked at him and I said, oh, okay, you know, I mean, it was too early for that type of technology, but they could have almost used the de-aging thing on Nick. You can believe that they did that. That's how much this guy looks like Nick Nolte.
Absolutely.
Who is it time to get around to him, Nick Nolte?
Yeah, I was going to mention him next. So
go ahead.
Okay. You know what? Nick Nolte in this movie, he's kind of like the Hulk too, because he does some really good stuff early on, but then he goes into mustache twirling territory really fast. Like he jumps in the crazy car and he just slams on the gas pedal. Ladies
and gentlemen, excuse my French, but I will tell you one thing. As much as I love this movie, I have absolutely no idea what the fuck Nick Nolte is doing. You know, don't get me wrong, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's poking around, he's in the dark with his poodles, being in places he has no business being. Bruce looks out the window in the middle of the night. He has a nightmare. And he goes to the window and looks out, and Nick Nolte's across the street with his poodles, just standing. Bruce wakes up in the hospital room. He went there, and Nick Nolte is sitting there, with, surrounded by his poodles. Oh man!
Also, when Betty sees him and she's like, "Oh, where's Benny, the other guy?" She's like, "Oh, he's dead." She's like, "Whoa, okay, don't sugarcoat it or anything."
No, but you know something? And the way he says it, you know exactly that son of a bitch killed him.
Oh yeah.
He said, "Oh, Benny, oh, he's dead." So, you know, and I can make no sense at all of his dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like it's dialogue, and I guess that's the genius of Nick Nolte, because it sounds like he's making it up on the spot. Every single word that comes out of his mouth sounds like he's just making it. Like he just said, "I don't need a script.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give me a script. I don't care about a script."
Oh God, yeah.
Oh man. He makes the movie. He makes the movie. And at the end, I have no idea.
Okay, that's something we got to talk about. Is that?
No, that's the elephant that's in the room.
Oh my God, I have watched this movie probably at least a dozen times, right? And in all the times I've watched this movie, I have no fucking idea what the hell is happening in that climax.
I have no idea at all.
And it's just.
Matter of fact,
also, I don't know.
Matter of fact, I'm still not, and mind you, like I said, I watched this movie last week and I watched it last night. I watched this movie last night and I'm still not sure how they got from the warehouse to that lake.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure how they got there.
He like turns into electricity or something and he like teleports Bruce through the, I don't know. It's a total muddle mess. Like this movie has a huge third act problem. Like the first act, the second, great, really good. But then I don't know who decided that you want to turn Nick Nolte into this weird amalgam of Absorbing Man and Zax. But whoever did,
Zack. Okay, the Absorbing Man I got.
Yeah.
Because he's in the lab and he zaps himself, and then he does a thing where
and he sucks in the nano machines like it's
he sucks up the nanites. He gets a hose And he hits himself with the gamma rays. But he's done already experimented on, because in the beginning of the movie, we see him cutting up starfish and injecting himself and with monkeys. Like I said, it's batshit insane what Nick Nolte does in this movie. And we're never really sure. I know he writes down one thing, okay, regeneration is immortality. So, you know, but we're never sure exactly what it is he's trying to accomplish. You know, he experiments on his own son, and then he tries to kill his son because, you know, because he just gets pissed off because Thunderbolt Ross tells him, well, the project is over.
Yeah,
you know?
I've never understood why he experiments on his son to begin with.
Yeah.
That's another thing that just, nothing Nick Nolte does in this movie makes any sense. Nothing.
No, nothing he does. You know what? It's, okay, I'm going to go so far as to say, it don't matter because it's entertaining as hell. But it doesn't make a lick of sense. Anything he does in this movie, you know, poodles, he gamma rays his poodles.
That was another thing that a lot of people got pissed off at when they heard that Hulk was going to be fighting gamma dogs. And I don't understand why, like, first off, there have been gamma dogs in the comic books. That came from the comic books.
Oh, man.
But second, you know what? I don't see what the problem is with that. I mean,
you know what? It's just all part of the insanity of Nick Nolte. You know, if you've bought all the crazy shit he's done up to that point, well, then why wouldn't you go with the gamma dogs?
Yeah. Although the poodle was definitely an interesting choice.
Yeah, the poodle. That's what I'm saying. The first time I saw the movie, I think I was the only one that cracked up in the theater. And Patricia said, why are you laughing? The man is standing across the street with a pack of poodles. What are you talking about? Bruce wakes up in his hospital room and the guy's sitting there with his legs crossed, casual, everything like that. And he's surrounded by poodles of various sizes and shapes. I mean, come on. Oh, man. It's hilarious. I mean, and then he had his scenes with Jennifer Connelly because she's sitting there looking at him, and even Jennifer Connelly is looking at him like this is the first time she's ever heard this dialogue because he's making it up.
I'm watching the movie and I'm looking at Jennifer Connelly's reactions, and I'm not sure if she's reacting as Betty or if she's Jennifer Connelly reacting to Nick Nolte's insanity.
Exactly. You know, it's one of the weird moments you don't know because you're looking at her and she's just like saying, wait a minute, I don't know. He does know we're acting, right?
Yeah. Well, this was apparently when Nick Nolte got arrested for drunk driving.
You know what? I can believe it. I can believe he was taking all kinds of stuff because you know what? No matter, you don't understand a word he says, but he believes whatever it is he's saying. Very, very sincerely. This man believes what he's saying, whatever it is.
Yeah. Do you okay, so I was just looking up Nick Nolte. Did you know that in 1965 he was arrested for counterfeiting?
Yeah, Nick Nolte's had a very interesting life.
Jesus.
He's an Aquarius, he's an Aquarius like me. Matter of fact, I believe him and I have the same birthday. February 8th.
Okay. So yeah, I think that was apparently while he was making this movie is when he got arrested for substance abuse. And, you know, it makes me wonder if he was high when he was making this damn movie because
he may very well have been. I would not. You know what? I would not have any problem believing that he was high while he was making this movie because, like I said, I don't understand a thing he's saying, and he has that quality. Whereas I believe he was just making up his dialogue on the spot. Despite this, like I said, he does have some memorable scenes in this movie, like when he first meets the Hulk.
Yes,
and, you know, and he touches his face and he's calling him son and everything like that. And the impact of what he's done to his son has finally hit him.
Yeah.
So like, okay, he wanted results, but he didn't know he was going to get this.
Another thing that's good in that scene is the Hulk's reaction to him because Banner has no memory. Banner has completely repressed that. But the Hulk clearly remembers him.
Yeah, right. You know, he knows who this is.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and it's just a wonderful scene. And the scene where like I said, where he I guess he's trying to justify what he's done to Betty.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sitting there and he's talking to her, and you know, she's telling him, and you know, she's trying to make him understand how messed up he is, and he's just not getting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's saying, yeah, well, you know, I'm breaking the boundaries that God placed on man and everything like that. And Betty's looking at him and she said, you really don't get that you're fucking nuts, do you?
Yeah. I mean, you know, jacking up your poodle.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a boundary God placed, but it was probably a boundary that was there for a good reason.
It was there for a reason, you know. You know, yeah, well, there is a whole lot of 1950s monster movie in the DNA of this too, in that you have Nick Nolte, who represents the scientist who crosses the boundaries that man was not meant to cross.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, they also got they also had a nod to the TV show, because in the comics, his father is abusive as well, though he wasn't a mad scientist. But he's Brian Banner in the comics. So in the movie, they made him David Banner as a nod to Bill Bixby in the TV show.
Yeah. Which we should also mention that, of course, there is the obligatory Stan Lee cameo quite early in the movie, in fact.
Yeah.
Where he's with Lou Ferrigno. They play security guards.
Yeah, and Lou Ferrigno, man, still jacked.
Oh man,
in fact, he looks more like the Hulk now than he did in the 1970s.
Yes, he does. He does.
I mean, I saw him in that. I saw him in he also cameoed in Incredible Hulk. And then I saw him, he was in this really great comedy movie with Paul Rudd and Jason Segel called I Love You, Man. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's a good movie. You got to check that out. Paul Rudd plays this guy who he's engaged to Rashida, what's her name? Rashida Jones?
Rashida Jones, yeah.
Yeah. So she's in that too. He's engaged to her and they're planning their wedding. And she finds out that he doesn't really have any good friends who are guys. And so he basically goes on a hunt to try to find a male best friend. And, and it ends up being Jason Segel. And it's just a really good movie. And one of the things is he's a real estate agent in LA. And one of his clients is Lou Ferrigno. So Lou Ferrigno's in there and still looking jacked as hell.
Wait a minute. He's playing Lou Ferrigno. He's playing himself.
Yes, he's playing himself, yeah. And he does a great job of it. There's this one thing where Jason Segel's getting all in his face and Lou Ferrigno, puts him in a headlock.
Jason Segel wouldn't be a bad guy to have for a friend, I think.
Oh, hell, I love Jason Segel, man. Anytime I see him in a movie, I know I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I was watching this really weird series on AMC, Dispatches from Elsewhere. That was really good with him in it. And he wrote it and directed it and stuff like that. It was like based on a web series. If you ever watch it, if you ever get the chance to see it, watch it. It's him, is Andre 3000 is in that, and
what was it called again?
Sally Field.
What was it called again?
Dispatches from Elsewhere.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Yeah, check it out. It's really good. And matter of fact,
he created it. It looks.
Yeah. I'm trying to find it because I was watching it on AMC, and somehow I missed the last 2 episodes. So
it looks like it. So it looks like it just this past March. It was. Premiered, so,
yeah.
So the 10th episode came out in April. So. It'll probably. I mean, a lot of the AMC stuff it ends up being on Netflix. So probably in the next few months or so, it'll end up there.
You're right. That's what I figured. I said, well, you know what? I'll just keep checking Netflix.
Yeah.
And see if it's on there.
Yeah.
And he's good. He's good. I like him a lot, Jason Segel.
Oh yeah, and it's got Paul Rudd in it too, and a lot of, and also we're talking Andy Samberg has a small role in it too. So does J.K. Simmons. And,
okay.
And some of the other Brooklyn Nine-Nine guys are in there too. So yeah, you'll definitely enjoy that. It's definitely worth a watch. It was like this little movie. It came out and didn't really get any attention, and I only discovered it years later. But anyway, back to the Hulk.
And it's one of those movies that you watch and you say, well, how come nobody went to see this thing?
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely one of those. And watched it. I'm just like, man, this is really good, and just really funny. And but yeah, definitely find a way to check that out. But anyway, another thing I liked about Hulk was I know a lot of people hated this, but I thought it was a really cool way to do it, and that's the panels.
Yeah, yeah.
I know maybe he does it, maybe he overdoes it in some points, but overall, I really like the use of the panel filming.
I know a lot of people, yeah, that was like their major complaint out of the many major complaints that they had. But a lot of people really hated that with with the dissolves and the use of the panels and the way that he would have one character move into another scene. Again, I admire ambition. And Ang Lee was trying to think of a unique way to give this to feel like you were reading a comic book come to life.
Yes.
And I think that that's what he did. And I think that that's what he was shooting for. And okay, maybe he could have toned it down a little bit. Okay, sure. But you know what? Nothing exceeds like excess. So, and like I said, it was ambitious and I admire ambition. And me myself, I didn't have a problem with it. You know what? Visually, this movie keeps your attention if nothing else, because there's always something happening on the screen. Yes. And to give him his credit, when he has those emotional scenes, when his characters that are just talking, he doesn't do that.
Right.
He puts the camera down and he lets the actors do their thing. And then after they've done their thing, then he'll go on and he'll do the things with the sliding panels and the dissolves and everything like that. But when it comes time for the actors just to act, he lets them go ahead and do it. He doesn't put in, all the fancy camera tricks. I liked it myself. I mean, really, I have a hard time disliking this movie. And when people, again, like I said at the beginning, when people tell me why they don't like it, I understand it. It's valid. But to me, the overall ambition of the movie, to me, I'm willing to overlook all that other stuff, but that's just me.
No, I agree with you. I'm right there with you. It's like my opinion on this movie has cooled in the years, almost 20 years since it first came out. Like I loved it when it first came out, and now in retrospect, I'm like I was watching it when I was watching it the other night. I'm kind of like drifting off in a few places. So I've definitely cooled on it, but I still respect a lot of what Ang Lee was trying to do here, and there's still a lot of it I like, but there's also a lot that I think he was trying to do too much. Like in fact, I think you can cut out the whole David Banner stuff entirely, and it would have made this movie a lot stronger. I mean, as much fun as Nick Nolte is in his batshit insanity, like you don't need him in this movie. Like if you want to have him in flashbacks or something to hint at the abuse, that's one thing. But I think going the full route and making him the villain. Also, this was kind of a trend happening with the Marvel movies at the time, which makes me wonder if Avi Arad had some unresolved issues with his dad. But it was like every single Marvel movie that came out back in the early 2000s had daddy issues as like the major theme.
Yeah.
I mean, you had this, you had the X-Men movies had a lot of that. Even X-Men 3, right? When they announced that they were going to have Warren Worthington II, Archangel's father, who has never been a character of any substance in the comics, they decide, he's going to be the one responsible for making this drug that's destroying mutants. And one of the themes, like Angel and his relationship. Well, I mean, Avi, call up your dad and settle your shit, man.
Yeah, I know, right? But something, you're absolutely right. And not to think about it, but something. Okay, it seems to be like certain filmmakers and, like you say, certain producers, everything like that. Whatever the little bugaboo is in their life always seems to get filtered into their work somehow.
Yeah, which is why we always see feet in Quentin Tarantino movies.
Yeah. which has become like, which now I think he probably does it on purpose because he knows that people are going to be looking for it.
Yeah.
So he tells his actresses, "No, what? Give me a shot of your feet real quick so we can get this out of the way." But also, you know what? Back when, because like you said, we're talking about Hulk, and this is a movie like almost 20 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How old is this movie?
Almost 20 years. It came out in 2003.
Okay. It's not like now where we've had another 20 years of superhero movies on top of this. That's like a template for people to follow. Because now, if you're a film director, you can go back and look at 20 years. There wasn't like really a whole bunch of movies for Ang Lee to go look at.
Right.
And say, okay, well, this is how I do a superhero movie. He truly did do a superhero movie the way he wanted to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't interested in how anybody else did it. He just said, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do, for better or for worse. And I think that was the way for him to go. I really do. You know what? Okay. You don't get a guy like Ang Lee who has done material like The Ice Storm and Ride with the Devil and, all of these movies. You don't hire him and say, okay, well, we want you to dumb this down and we want you to, okay, you hire him because he does what he does and he's very good at what he does.
Right.
Let me put it that way.
And, and it did relatively well at the box office. Like it was like one of the highest grossing movies of 2003. And there were talks of a sequel. They were planning on doing a sequel, right? And the screenwriter, James Schamus, he said that he wanted the sequel to feature the Grey Hulk, and he wanted to have the Leader and the Abomination in it. Which Abomination was actually at Marvel's request. But Universal didn't meet the deadline for filming a sequel, and then Marvel got the film rights to the character, and then they started working on Incredible Hulk. But then we got this thing where Marvel has the film rights to the character, but Universal has the distribution rights, which is why we're not getting another Hulk movie, because at least not a solo movie, which is why Hulk instead is only appearing in other movies.
Right.
So we have him in. Sorry,
but I'm just going to thank you for bringing that up and putting that in there, because one thing that out of the many things that piss me off about fanboys, they always love to say, well, that movie was a bomb, that's why they didn't make a sequel. No, it didn't. This movie made a respectable amount of money, like you said, enough that they were serious, they were going to make a sequel. This movie made money. Of course, the money that it grows today isn't a blip compared to what superhero movies make now. But back then, people were looking at it and said, "Oh man, this is good numbers." So they were going to make a sequel to it. Yeah. But as always, there were other factors that were involved.
Yeah, and this film, I think, in a lot of ways, I think it really did try to do something different than the other superhero origin story movies were doing at the time, because the other ones were basically following the hero's journey type of thing and just using with the superhero. But this was really the first superhero movie that tried to be something different and try to do something different with the idea of a superhero movie. And it's a template that Marvel would later adopt when they started realizing, okay, well, we can't just keep doing origin stories all over again. So we got to start making genre films with superheroes. And I think a lot of that, I don't think you get to a lot of that unless you have Hulk first.
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. As much as people talk about, oh, Hulk is a terrible movie, there's a lot of other movies you don't get without Hulk. It's one, I would not go so far as to claim that it's a touchstone of the superhero cinema, but what I do think in that you had other filmmakers and actors, they looked at this and they said, oh, wow, okay, it's a superhero movie, but it's not punchy, run. Right. It's actually trying to be about something.
Right.
And I think that's when people, and I'm not talking about the crowd paying hoi polloi. I'm talking about people that's in the industry I'm talking about the screenwriters. I'm talking about actors and directors. I feel that this movie probably had more of an impact on them than it did, like with the public.
And
Like
in the past 10 years or so, it has been getting, people have been taking a second look at it now. And there's, like, I'm reading here on Wikipedia, and it's gotten retrospective praise for like the artistic difference that it's had from other superhero movies at the time. And, one person wrote that it departed from the formula in terms of subject matter or tone, and writing that it's pretty bizarre in its old school Freudian psychology, but it's also interesting for that same reason.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very, to me, I'm sorry, folks. I know people are going to listen to this and they're going to say, well, Derrick is going completely off the rails. But I'm sorry.
But I mean, we knew that about you a while ago, so that's nothing new.
I do not have it in my heart to dislike this movie. I mean, it's truly different and unique when it comes to superhero movies. It's its own thing. You cannot confuse it. You cannot confuse this Hulk with another superhero movie. You really can't.
Absolutely not.
You really can't. It's its own thing. And thank God for that. I really do. I mean, is it a good movie? You know what? That is entirely up to you as an individual, and as I said before, I would not sit up here and defend the flaws of this movie, which it does have many. I would not defend that because they're indefensible.
Yes.
But all I can say is that I overlooked them because I'm looking at the overall package of what Ang Lee tried to do, and my hat. So I give him a lot of respect for what he tried to do with this movie.
Same here. Yeah. Okay. I think that's all we have to say about Hulk, unless you have anything you want to add.
Well, no, there's not a lot to say about Hulk because you know what? To me, Hulk is like this Hulk is a perfect movie for this election season because much like you made up your mind who you're going to vote for, and nothing I or anybody else can say can change your mind about that. Well, Hulk is the same way. People have made up their mind about this movie, and I'm not arrogant enough to think that whatever I say is going to change your mind about it. The only thing that I can hope is that, that Perry and I have maybe given you something new to think about, and maybe you might want to take, which is always our intention in that, we're not trying to like change people's minds or you say that you was wrong about it, anything like that. All we're just trying to do is say, you know what? Maybe I should give this movie another try, and filter it through what these guys have said about it and see how I feel about it now. That's all.
I think it's definitely, especially if you didn't really care for it the first time, it's definitely worth the second look.
Yeah. Especially because, and I know that for myself, that a lot of times I'll see a movie and I say, oh man, that sucks. And then like after some time has passed, like a couple of years or even a couple of months in some cases, or definitely a couple of years, I watch it again. I say, something that wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So give this movie another chance. You might find out it's better than you originally thought. And you might still think we're crazy. But that's okay too. But it's definitely worth giving it. Just give it one more try. That's all we're really asking here.
I mean, listen, if you're at home quarantining anyway, don't sit there and watch Aquaman for the 15th time. Watch something different. Yeah.
Okay. So that brings us to the end of Hulk, which means I'm going up next. So I decided to take us back to animation, and especially because I recently read this character's the comics where this character first appeared in. I thought this was a good time to do it, and that is Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, okay.
So the film debut of Miles Morales in animation form, at least. So that's what we'll be watching next. And I'm looking forward to rewatching that movie because that was like, when that movie came out, I mean, that was like the closest thing you can get to damn universal praise.
Yeah. I mean, I watched it because I hadn't seen it, didn't know what it was about, but all I know is that everybody loved it. And I said, well, this movie can't be that good. Then I watched it and I said, yeah, it is that good.
It is that good, yeah.
Yeah, it is that good. It's that rare movie that everybody loved it and they loved it for a good reason.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I cannot think of any other movie, with the exception of Endgame, that receives so much praise and love as this movie.
And mind you, I'm not a big Spider-Man fan. And I love this movie.
Right. And you also don't really know much about Miles Morales as well.
Don't know that much about him either. Yeah, but I sat down and watched it. Loved it from start to finish.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk more about that, and part of like how Miles Morales came to be, because they had a Comixology, got to plug them, even though they're not paying us any money yet. But they recently had a sale on the Marvel Ultimate Comics. So I went through and I bought like all of the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff that Brian Bendis and Mark Bagley did, and I also bought the stuff that he did with Miles Morales, because that's where he introduced that character.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to rewatching this movie now that I know more about the character.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, so yeah, join us next week.
I'm looking forward to watching it again.
Yeah, same here. I mean, how can you not love watching that movie? That's but yeah, head on over to our group, Superhero Cinephiles, on Facebook. We've got the poll going now to decide on what movie we're going to watch for our quickly approaching 50th live commentary, and Derrick posted a threat in the comments there. He posted, you want to explain? Because I don't think I can bring myself to look upon this tragedy.
No,
I mean, you're pulling out the big guns with a threat like that.
I'm just letting people know, if you want to leave it up to me, you're going to end up with a live commentary of Steel.
Yeah, and I mean,
and trust me, it doesn't get much worse than Steel.
Yeah. So
if you don't get your vote in, you are seeing the depths of which I'm capable of going.
But I think right now we're doing okay, because the suggestions we got were Avengers, Mask of the Phantasm, Batman versus TMNT, Constantine, City of Demons, Blank Man, Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, and Batman Ninja. A lot of people like us doing Batman movies, it looks like.
Apparently so, yeah.
But anyway, the two that are in the lead right now are Avengers, and is the favorite right now, but Mask of the Phantasm also has a few votes. So if you want to lend your voice and pick one of those, you better jump in and do that soon, because we only got a few more weeks before we're going to be doing that 50th episode.
And we'll probably get around to doing Mask of the Phantasm sooner or later, because I've always said that I consider that to be the best Batman movie.
Oh yeah.
Live action or animated, that's the best. Yeah,
that will definitely be coming around sooner or later. So so even if we don't get to it this time, don't worry, we will be getting to it eventually. Okay, thanks so much for listening. Come back next week when we talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And I got a vice presidential debate to watch to see if it's going to be a shit show like last week.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to go upstairs and join the loving wife, and she said that she was going to wait for me, and we were gonna watch it together. I hope she remembered to get the booze.
Yeah, I gotta make some popcorn.
Oh man, no, but you know something. I expect this is going to be like the total opposite. Like whereas Trump and Biden was like a total shit show, and it was hysterics, and it was ranting and raving. I think this is going to be the exact opposite. I think this is going to be a snoozer.
Well, I mean, Mike Pence makes Valium look like an upper. So,
well, he's not Mr. Excitement.
Yeah.
Anyway, under the best of circumstances,
Yeah.
And Kamala Harris, she's very, restrained, and she's very calm,
but she's also a total badass too. So that's what I'm really looking forward to.
I think that
I think that because apparently Pence's team was complaining about the plexiglass shield to to keep his plague-ridden ass away from her. And I'm thinking by the end of this debate, he's going to be glad there's that plexiglass shield holding her back.
Well, I expect she's going to go for the jugular. There's no doubt about that, because she wants to definitely put a stake in the heart of this, campaign period, and make her mark. Like tonight is her night to take it if she wants it, and she's perfectly capable of taking it. Remember when she went after Biden?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
She wasn't taking no prisoners that night. Yeah, and I imagine it's going to be the same thing tonight. So, but we will see.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go. Come back next week. We'll talk about Into the Spider-Verse. And until then, if you see any presidents coming your way, you might want to run the other direction at this point.
Absolutely.
Plague rats all over the place. All right. Thanks so much, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening, as always. And as I always end off with, be safe, wash your hands, wear your mask. Good night, and God bless.
Thanks for listening to the Superhero Cinephiles podcast. If you have any questions or comments about this or any other episode, or if you have a superhero movie or TV show you'd like us to cover in a future episode, you can email us at superherocinephiles@gmail.com, or you can also visit us on the web at superherocinephiles.com. If you like what you hear, leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Each review helps us reach more potential listeners. You can also support the show by renting or purchasing the movies discussed, or by picking up our books, all of which can be accessed through the website, as well as find links to our social media presences. The theme music for this show is a shortened version of Superhero Showdown, a royalty-free piece of music courtesy of BesleonStudios.com.